I'm going to ask, probably I'll start with you, Sam, if you want to just probably introduce yourself, tell us more about Blue Hector, and then after that we'll move to Andrew, so that he can tell us more about Tanlo before we start.
Perfect. Thanks, Kuzi. Hopefully you can hear me loud and clear.
Yes.
Perfect. Good evening, all. Thank you so much for taking time. As Kuzi said, my name is Samuel Chinya, and I'm the practice manager at Blue Hector. Now, to those who are not aware, Blue Hector is a digital accounting firm that's based in Milton Keynes, and we specialize within the health and social care. So we niched within the health and social care, be it your domiciliary care, supported accommodation, supported living, children's services. If you're working within the health and social care sector, we are more than happy to work with you. We've been operating since 2019, and we are a team of 10, so there's 10 of us. I personally am a qualified ACCA, Chartered Accountant. Again, qualified in 2019, almost same time we started running Blue Hector. And outside of work, I have two young boys, Michael and Caleb, aged 5 and 2, who keep me busy. So if I'm not working on numbers, I'm running around chasing the little boys. Thank you, Kudzi. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Andrew?
Thank you so much, Kudzi. Can you confirm if you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So my name is Andrew Nyamayaro. I'm a solicitor practicing under Tanlo Solicitors. We do help in several areas of the law, including immigration, employment, business and corporate, wills, probate, dispute resolutions, and charity work as well. We have got our office based in Coventry. We have been operating as a firm since 2016. I'm a solicitor in the UK since 2012. A legal practitioner in the UK since around 2007 or 2008, and a lawyer registered in Zimbabwe since year 2000. My colleague Sam has got young children. Me, I've got adult children. So I don't have to running around with the children anymore. We are almost in a semi-empty nest, me and my wife. And so that's in brief about me.
Oh, thanks, Andrew. Yeah, so we're going to move on to probably talk about why are we having this webinar. So the reason why we're having this webinar is to talk about, I think, COSs. And I think that everyone knows, or almost knows that COSs have managed to bridge the challenge that we've had with regards to staffing, especially in the healthcare space. And they've come in, I think, at a time when there was a shortage of staff, and COSs were used to bridge that gap. And since their introduction, the government has slowly introduced checks, and slowly the Home Office has slowly introduced what we call, or maybe changes what responsibilities, especially for around compliances for COS. And this is the reason why we have this. I think we had one webinar end of last year, and we had a lot of questions on COS. So we decided to do a separate session today, just to talk about some of the common compliance mistakes that we see certificates of sponsorship holders make, and how you can avoid them, because some of these, if they are not managed, they can obviously lead to your license getting suspended, in worst situation, getting revoked. You can get a fine, and also reputational damage for your business. And we know that also COS provide a lifeline pretty much for us to be able to support our service users with a steady flow of staff. And this is the reason why we are having this. I think, as we highlighted earlier, the webinar is split into two sections. So we're going to look at, I think, the first section now, which Sam is going to take us through. After that, and then I'll pass on to Andrew, who is going to help, who is going to look more around the HR and the legal side of things. Sam, over to you.
Perfect. Thanks, Kuzi. I think you introduced the topic well, and I'll just take it from there and I'll run with it. Time is a bit limited, so please do bear with me. I will be moving quickly. To those who actually know me as well, know I like to speak with the audience. Now, whilst I understand your mics are muted, I will be throwing in polls within the chat or asking you to respond to questions within the chat. So I'm not going to let you off easily. We now, with COS licenses, I understand that there's a lot of responsibilities and duties that you as directors have to abide by. From an accounting point of view, I am going to be focusing mostly on complying with UK laws, and under that, payroll. I'm sure most of you who registered for this, you did highlight that you actually have a lot of, a number of staff on your books, on your payroll who came with a COS license. And there are some common mistakes that we see when it comes to payroll that are resulting in providers having their licenses suspended or, like Kudzi said earlier on, revoked. So I just want to bring some of those issues to light, so that at least we can just help educate each other and know how to avoid some of them. What you see is, by no means are these issues complicated. These are very, very simple, basic issues, but they can have, excuse me, a long-lasting impact on how your business continues to operate. Now, in the chat, if you don't mind me asking, in one word, how would you describe your payroll process, your current payroll process? I did give you a heads up that I'll be asking you to engage with me through the chat. So to those who are sitting down and not doing anything else, how would you describe your current payroll process? Perfect. I see the answers coming through. Could you help me? I think we have a good number.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
don't know if I can move on with this, or I need to give people another nudge to
Uh,
say, guys, come
uh,
on, talk to me. How would you
that's
currently
good.
describe your payroll process?
Yeah, we're getting some responses. So we've got efficient, excellent, effective. We outsource. I've got smooth, so which is good. So we're getting some responses from the chat. So yeah, so we do have a chat in the Q&A section, and we already have one question in the Q&A. So we'll answer all the questions at the end. But if you feel you've got a question, just pop it in there, and then we can respond at the end.
Perfect. Perfect. No, thank you so much to all those who have responded. And like I said, this is how this presentation will be delivered. We will be helping each other and running this together. Now, in order for me to bring some of these issues to light, I thought, why not use a practical example? So I'd actually like to introduce you to Lizzie. So meet Lizzie. Lizzie got a COS, and she has been working in the UK since April. That's April 2025. I'm sure you can see she's excited to be in the UK. She's excellent at her job. And some of the key contract details of a COS is what you can see on screen. 40 hours a week at about £13 per hour. She was also given a loan advance of about £2,000. And over time, any overtime that she does will be paid at about £15 per hour. So I've introduced you guys to Lizzie, and in the month of October, Lizzie gets a payslip. This is actually the same month that Home Office has decided to turn up for an unannounced inspection. I'm sure to some of you who have had inspections before, you know they ask to see payslips, bank statements, RITI, and a number of other documents that they request. This is one of the payslip that has been given to the inspector that came. And my question to you again through the chat, spot the errors. How many errors can you see on this payslip? This is just me waiting for people to throw in some numbers in the chat, those who are paying attention.
Yes. Yeah. So you can respond via the chat. So. Yeah, I can see someone says there's no NI number. That's correct. That's a good one, actually. Uniform should not be charged. That's another one.
I think it's because it's late, kids. That's why people are not engaging as much.
Yes.
But nonetheless, rightly so, Ola and Barbara, rightly so, spotted them. And the honest truth is there is a number of errors on this payslip. I'm sure you can see I've taken out my teacher's red pen, and you can see I've circled and highlighted some of the issues that you can see. The first one being obvious, you can't call Elizabeth Lizzie. Yes, she likes to be known as Lizzie. That's a nickname everyone at work calls her Lizzie. But when it comes to the payslip, you can't use Lizzie on a payslip. It again, like I said, these are simple, basic errors which can actually have a huge impact on how your organization runs. Someone spotted it. I think it was Ola. There is no NI number. She's been working since April. It's October right now. There is still no NI number. You see, I also circled 150 hours over there. There is 10 hours of travel time being paid at £4.50. You can see 100 miles being paid mileage at 45p per mile. Imagine that, and the total is 20. Simple calculation errors that are being highlighted on this payslip. For some odd reason, under deductions, there's actually a tax refund in the month of 460. And like how someone actually posted in the chat, uniforms are being deducted. There's an advance pay, the loan deduction, and also a payment on account. I understand these are a lot of errors on one payslip. So essentially what I've done here is I've brought all the common errors on one payslip so that we can see what they are. And these are some of the reasons why a COS license can get suspended or revoked based on the letters that we have seen coming through to the people from the providers who we have helped rectify some of these. Like I said, there is nothing too complex here. It's literally simple, basic errors that can go sometimes untamed or that are just not looked at correctly. One of my favorite ones, if you look at the gross pay in the month is £605 and 52. Surely that can be right. Is that even above the national minimum wage or national living wage? And look, we're transferring £321 to their bank account in the month of October. Now, this brings to light some of the issues, the common mistakes that we see, and I'm just going to expand on them a bit more in the next slide. What we tend to see a lot happening is a lot of incorrect calculations of contracted hours versus what's on the COS contract. I am not sure why or where this came from, but there seems to be a misconception of 150 hours is the standard hours an employee on COS should be working. I have seen this numerous times. And the honest truth is, guys, this number of hours depends on what you had in your contract. If your contract stipulated 37.5, if your contract stipulated 40 hours a week, this should give you the number of hours that they should be working. If we look in our case of Lizzie, you see right at the bottom here, the payslip says she's contracted to work 40 hours a week, yet we are paying her only for 150 hours. This is an underpayment. How do you get the correct number of hours that you should show? Simple. Multiply 40 hours by 52, then divide that by 12. Now, when you get that, that is the amount of hours that you should be showing on a payslip, because those are the contracted hours that an employee, or Lizzie in this case, should be getting paid. We also see a lot of using actual hours versus contracted hours. So in the month where you did not have a lot of work and an employee who's on a COS license or a COS visa has worked maybe 80 hours or 90 hours, and you only pay them for that portion of hours that they've worked. Again, this is a breach, because as per their contract, they should be paid a certain amount of hours each month. So that is one that we see a lot, that is also, excuse me, causing a lot of problems when providers are having a home office inspection. Another simple one, rounding down. So when you calculate how many hours an employee should have in the month, sometimes providers round down. And by rounding down, you are regarded as if you're underpaying your employees each month. So just watch out when you calculate as per the contract that you issued, how many hours they should be working in the month. Now, what's the impact of doing these mistakes that we highlighted? I'm sure you know. Again, failure to comply with national minimum wage if you're not paying as per your contract, and also the risk that comes with that, which we already spoke of. How to avoid that? I gave you the calculation of what you need to use to make sure that, as per the contract that you've issued, you are at least paying the correct hours. And also have a simple control within your organization. Have someone prepare the payroll and someone review it just to make sure, especially on COS stuff, to make sure that they are being paid by their contract. Hopefully that makes sense. The second mistake that is very common that we see is inaccurate salary reporting and PAYE records. What do I mean by that? The actual salary that is actually paid in the employee's bank account does not match the payslip. Again, a number of factors. It could be that the business had low cash flow. So what did you do? You decided to give half of the money this month and then you do a catch up next month. Or you had actually given them an advance and then now you are just deducting what you had paid them in advance. If the pay slip does not match the funds that are coming out in the bank account, company bank account, it creates a problem. And I say company bank account because you also come across some providers were using their personal bank accounts to pay staff wages. Again, like I said, very simple mistakes that can be avoided, but that push you towards non-compliance. Simple one. When the COS is not updated when a salary has changed, you have not updated the COS, you have just updated the salary, you're now paying them the correct salary. This means that you are actually now being not being compliant. We see a lot of PAYE records and RTI submissions not reflecting what is genuinely paid. And again, to be honest, providers, this rises from cash salary payments. So to those staff who work, I think we see this a lot with the 20-hour employees. The COSs who are working 20 hours in your organization, where they do more hours and then you decide to give them a bit of cash on the side, which is not running through the books. Again, this creates problems and it pushes you towards that not being compliant box that we need to come out of. What is the impact? Again, revocation or suspension of the license. It can trigger inspections. If there is a mismatch on your records, especially PAYE versus RTI, this can actually trigger an inspection. And what we've been seeing a lot of this year is HMRC. This is your PAYE liability, and the Home Office, they're working hand in hand. If you have a PAYE HMRC inspection, chances are Home Office are not far behind. They're going to come knocking as well. Because once they come for one issue, they then look at everything. So just make sure that your house is in order. How do you avoid this? Simple. Just align your data. Ensure that the gross that you're actually paying matches what is on the contract. And also keep records. You need to keep records. I believe, as per the national minimum wage regulation, you need to keep up to 6 years of records. That's PAYE and RITS submissions. You need to keep records in case they come knocking for an inspection. Underpayment and unlawful deductions. I'm sure I can just speak on travel time alone, which is always a contentious topic within the sector. But effectively, if you're not paying staff for what they should be paid, what do I mean by this? If you're holding staff meetings during staff days off and you're not paying them for them, if you're holding staff meetings during lunch breaks, unpaid lunch break, and you're not paying staff for it, again, all these things push you under not paying your employees enough in terms of the national living wage. Thank you, Kudzi. Kudzi has just put in the chat a checklist. So there's a checklist on the Gov website which helps you determine whether you're underpaying your employees or you're being underpaid as an employee. And the beauty about this checklist, it literally just asks you questions, you answer, and at the end, it will tell you whether you're underpaying or you're being compliant. As soon as someone is, or as soon as you reach the last page, if it's underpay, you see that it actually prompts them to say, complain to HMRC about this, i.e., if an employee has gone on this website put in their details, seeing that they're being underpaid, the next step that is available to them is to complain, raise a complaint to HMRC against you. Your employee can do that. Anyone can do that on behalf of someone else. So if you're not looking after your staff well, and these employees talk and they know you're doing unlawful deductions, be it limited liability, be it accommodation, be it transport, whatever you're deducting from their pay slips that is not, excuse me, lawful, this can actually cause someone to go and whistleblow and actually have an inspection. I think it will be interesting to hear what people think. One of the main reasons why home office inspections happen is due to whistleblowing. When someone raises a concern, this is one of the main reasons why it happens. Of course, behind that, you now have the incorrect record keeping, i.e., when your PAYE liability is out of date. But the most common one is whistleblowing. If you are deducting or employees are not happy with what they're seeing on their pay slips, they're going to whistleblow. And what happens after that, there's going to be an unannounced inspection that is coming your way. Hopefully, this just paints a picture. When it comes to deductions, 90% of deductions on a payslip are unlawful. I would even go to the extent of saying treat every deduction on a payslip as if it's unlawful, and find the reason why you should be having one. And most of these are done in good faith. When they came, we gave them an advance so that they could secure a house, so that they could secure um, cutlery, uniforms, warm clothes, etc., etc. Whilst it's done in good faith, there is a legal responsibility that lies within that. Thank you so much. A second link has just gone into the chat again from the Gov website about accommodation. We see a lot of accommodation deductions on staff payslips. This is when you either use one of your houses to provide accommodation to staff, and then you deduct the rent on their payslips each month. Or you secure an accommodation with someone else, the company pays, and then you deduct that from your employees. There is actually a whole benefit in kind P11D piece of tax legislation that needs to be done. So it's not just right to deduct that from your employee's payslip. Again, unlawful deductions. If you're going to have deductions, please make sure that they're not just agreed by word of mouth. Something is signed for, and it's within the confines of the law. I'll repeat that. Do not just agree word of mouth. Yes, I agree to give you money so that you can buy a car. I'll deduct off your payslip. Have it in writing, have a contract, have something that both parties actually sign so that at least you can mitigate some of these unlawful deductions that we are talking about. Poor record keeping and documentation. It's no surprise that when again home office come knocking and the request for all these documents that they need to see, pay slips, bank statements, RITI submissions, some providers are not able to provide this information because they don't have it. And now by failing to provide information during an inspection, you put your CoS license at risk. So it's really, really important that you keep adequate records, especially for CoS employees that are working within your organization. Even after they move on, you need to still keep those payroll records. I think there's a poll that is coming. You should be able to see it on your screen or in the chat. It's a very, very simple poll, which is going to give me 2 seconds to drink some water. So, yep, I can see results already coming in. Please feel free to just vote on the poll. Thank you. Wonderful. Because I'm seeing more than 90% being compliant of those who have answered. I can't stress record keeping enough, guys. Record keeping is really, really key, especially in making sure that you protect your CoS license. There are some other common items or other common mistakes that we see that I've just highlighted on your screen here. And again, you come across them when you're working with different providers, and they vary across literally. But all these mistakes can cost your COS license. So things like treating COS staff as if they're self-employed. You are not putting them through your payroll. You're paying them as if they are self-employed, as if they're working outside IR 35. If you are doing that with COS stuff, you're putting your license at risk. Or irregular pay patterns. You pay them every 2 weeks, you pay them monthly, sometimes you pay them weekly. Again, this raises questions and it puts your COS at a risk. Cash payments, I can't stress this enough. Cash is a high risk. Avoid paying people cash. And I've had the conversations. Someone has worked for me more than 20 hours, they should be doing 20. So I take money out and I pay them cash. I only report 20. Avoid cash payments. Doing that will jeopardize your license and it will put your COS license at risk. Not paying for overtime. So when you treat overtime as if it's part of the contracted hours, that's a risk that you're exposing your license to. Or when they actually come for the inspection, you don't have records, then you fortify them. You provide false or misleading information to Home Office. This is not a great way to make to handle a Home Office inspection. When they come for a Home Office inspection, they give you a chance for you to come clean. I'm sure for those of you who have had inspections, they will ask you, is there anything that you want to disclose to us before we start doing our digging? And they always say if you disclose earlier, it will be taken into account when you pass our decision/judgment. So again, please avoid fortifying receipts, going back and trying to issue pay slips that were not there and trying to make it seem like you were paying people correctly when you were not. I know I was flying through that, but our time is really tight. I hope it just brings to light some of the common mistakes that we are seeing around payroll and what to do to avoid them. Kudzi, I'll give this time back to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Sam. That was really, really insightful. And that pretty much, I think, covers the first section of our presentation. Now I'm going to ask Andrew if he's ready. I think to take over. Sam, if you can drive the slides as well, that would be great from your end, so that at least we can just go through the next section. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sam, for presenting to us so far. Can I have the next slide, please? Okay, since the accountant started the presentation, I would start with figures because that's what accountants enjoy. So the figures that I'm giving you guys are not so much good news, unfortunately. And some of you might be aware of these figures, some of you might not be aware. So in terms of the sponsor license, the immigration skills charge went up on the 16th of December. So it's now the figures that are shown on the screen there for small organizations 480 and for larger organizations 1,320, and each additional year is now 240 and 660. That was a 32% increment from December. That is the immigration skills charge. Then the other one which went up is the pre-license priority service. This is the priority that you seek when you're registering or you want to do your sponsor license with the Home Office to get your decision within 10 working days. And it was £500. They've now increased it to £750. The other priority is when you are making changes or you want to request things like CoS, adding third-party representative, changing or adding your level 1 users, changing your addresses and so forth. That now is gone from £200 to £350. The reason why I am mentioning these figures is that obviously this is something that will affect on your cash flow, not only under the immigration that we are going to face cash flow issues, because in terms of the Employment Rights Act, it came again out in December. I think it was a Christmas present that were given by the government because it came out on the, I think on the 24th of December. but it's a lot of compliance that is going to change, a lot of terms and conditions and costs. For example, SSP becoming something that will be triggered on the first day rather than on the fourth day as at the moment. Next slide, please. It is important for us as people that have got sponsor licenses to keep up to date. I go about the country doing audits on businesses, and we normally ask the level one user, the authorizing officer, how often do you log into your SMS? Some people don't log in at all. Some will log in after 3 months and so forth. But the Home Office recommends that you log into the SMS at least once every month. And when you log into the system, there is the message board that you need to get up to date reading. We have had circumstances whereby some scammers have been able to get into the SMS system of service providers without them knowing, because they are not regularly logging into their system. And those scammers have been able to generate COS, change details, and even change all the contact details, logging out or locking out the authorizing officers and so forth. So that's important. Why do I mention that? Because the Home Office is always changing. Changing the laws, changing the guidances and the policies, and the recent changes, some of them are mentioned on the screen there. So what is of importance is that under section 1.1 of the guidance that was changed in November, it's now enhanced checks on right to work. And guys, I need to emphasize this. You need to be very serious with the right to work. And if you can't do right to work, then you need to do your employer check that you need to do. If you do not do a right to work check properly, and if you do not have a right to work check and you are employing illegal immigrants, the minimum fine that you are going to face under Home Office enforcement is 60,000. And if they give you a discount, it will be 5,000 because you're going to pay the money as a big chunk and so forth. So, just one person can bankrupt your business. You need to do your right to work checks. The Home Office requires you to do this every 6 months. Some people, we have noticed that they just did right to work checks when they employed people and they never did the right to work checks again. That's a breach. And I need to comment on British and Irish nationalities. You need to do what is called document verification. So when you employ someone who is British or Irish, you check their passport. These days, with technology improved with AI, it's very easy for scammers to produce a passport that looks very genuine, yes, yet it's a fake. So you cannot rely just by sight of seeing a passport. You need to rely on um, providers who do those kind of work. So if you've got a provider that does, for example, your DBS, most likely they've got a document verification facility as well. You can just go online and say document verification. You just do it once for a British person. You don't need to repeat it again, but that's your reasonable excuse if the Home Office then finds that that person was lying, that they are British or they've got Irish passports. So right to work checks, we need to do them. If you have not done them, I would advise you to go and check them as soon as possible. They are free, so you can always do it them at any time. The other update has been a clarification on how to check a worker's entry date into the country. This is very important because our employees came as defined, and most of them or all of them are undefined at the moment. And some came or some come from countries that um, uh, uh, do not necessarily have to have the date stamped into their passport. And if they're coming, for example, from the common travel area or from Europe, etc. Because we don't just employ people that are on the sponsored license. We employ people that from Europe, from the common travel area and other countries. And if those people are in breach, then as I've said, under enforcement, you will be charged for employing people that are illegal in the country and so forth. So you have to know when they've entered and so forth. And again, the Home Office is moving with technology. Now they've got the e-gates, and some of the e-gates might not record the date of entry for the people that we are employing. The other two I will not comment for the sake of our time, but let's go to the next slide, please. So the other coming changes would be the ETA for people that are coming from countries that do not necessarily need visas, but they need some kind of confirmation that they're coming into the country, and that is an ETA. The next one, which is coming again, is the end settlement in April 2026. I think yesterday or the day before there was a debate in Parliament, at least a conversation in Parliament, and there have been a number of petitions that have been circulating in regards to end settlement. Just to give a brief background to end settlement, in May 2025, the government introduced the white paper that was a major overhaul of the immigration system. And since then, they have been putting in different strategies and policies and guidances in slowly. And one of the things that they proposed, this one was proposed, I think it was around the November period as well, when they proposed that there's what is called the end settlement. They are moving settlement from 5 years for skilled workers, or most of the routes to settlement, except for those people that are dependents of British people or people that are on settlement. Any other ones who are students, skilled workers, refugees, and so forth, the starting point which has been proposed is 10 years. Now, there are factors that might increase it from 10 years. If you've got a conviction, if you're not a person of good character, if you came illegally, then it might take you 30 years to become settled. But there are also factors that reduces the years from 10 years. If, for example, you are educated to degree level, you knock off about 2 years or 3 years. If you work for the public service, you knock off 5 years. If you are rich and you are earning more than 250,000, you get a settlement at 3 years and so forth. So there are factors increasing the settlement and reducing the settlement, but it's a topic on its own. Then there are stricter requirements that now needs to be made under English. So if you are going to recruit someone, the B1 is no longer the English requirement. It's now B2, unless if you're covered by the transition. And most of our employees on the 6135, 6136, 6134, 6131, they are covered by the transitional arrangement. So they will remain on the current English qualification. But if you're employing someone new, you have to check their English now, because it has to be at an above B2, which is an equivalent of degree level. And the government, again, is going to introduce in April what is called the Fair Work Agency. This is a new body that is expected to launch to enforce employment and immigration laws. So that's a regulator which most of us are going to fall in by default, because they will be looking at what we do and how we employ people, things about modern slavery, salaries, which Sam was talking about. It is that will be also be monitored by these agents that is going to be introduced by the government. Next slide, please. Okay. So the current practical problems that we are seeing as lawyers or as solicitors is that there are delays in CoS applications. Now, these delays are affecting your annual allocation as well as your in-year additional allocation. So normally for the annual allocation, you will receive an email maybe 3 months before your anniversary of renewing the annual allocation. So when you receive the email, don't ignore it to leave it late, because the Home Office is taking its time to do the COS allocations, apply as soon as possible. And if you are not taken on priority, then the Home Office is taking as long as 18 months to 18 weeks, I beg your pardon, to decide on your COS application. Now, they may allow the application and give you the COS. They may refuse the application, or they may, because they want to keep in line with their policy of not breaching the 18 weeks, send you a request for additional information. So now, if they will send you on 17 weeks, 5 days, a request of additional information, and again that to make them not be in breach, and then they'll take another 4 or 5 weeks and so forth. So it's important that you put your request in time. Now, people leave applications or requests late for various reasons, but I advise you to do it in time. We now know this is January, for example. You have to know that in January, I've got 2 people that want a renewal in February, in March. So you have to start planning that even for people that are going to become due in June, for example, you need to apply for their COS now, because you are going to have your decision around April, May time for them. And then for those ones going forward. It's important that you keep in time when you're making applications, because there are delays caused by this Home Office in COS applications. Priority slots are not available. You can try, people are trying, and we're always telling our clients you have to try, and people try until they get tired. For the post-license applications, for people that are applying, for example, COS, or changing their details on their system, they take only 100 people per day, or 100 businesses. This is not only care businesses, that is across the board. Remember, the sponsor license caters for everyone who is employing people on the immigration salary list, or on the transition list, or on the new regime that is there since last year. And for those ones who are applying for sponsor licenses, they are taking 30 per day. So the Home Office would say, submit your application at 9 o'clock. People try also all sort of gimmicks. We do not have a formula to this. Some will submit it at 4 o'clock in the night. Some will submit 2 a.m., some at 5 a.m., 7 a.m., a minute to 9, 5 seconds to 9, and so forth, and try to change and whatever. Though it's just no there's no how we are going to catch the Home Office on that, but just try and try and try and try. So, because if you do not get the priority, then you're going to go on the standard application, which will take 18 weeks for post license applications and 8 weeks for pre-license applications. We are also witnessing more audits, suspensions, and revocations. As Samuel has alluded, the Home Office has got access to a number of other organizations and bodies, such as the HMRC, the local authorities, the pensions regulator, CQC, Ofsted, and so forth. They've got all that information, so they can remote. And again, when you are making applications, we always tell our clients that when you are making applications for certificate of sponsorship, you have to make sure that everything in your house is in order, because that gives the Home Office an opportunity to remotely audit you when you're making these applications. 9 out of 10 times, they will send you an email to say, can you provide us ABC documents? On average, they request more than 10 pieces of information in each request that they do. Financial record keeping, information about genuineness, about the positions, work, etc. So the contracts, different contracts of your service users and contracts of your employees, and so forth. So at the moment, there's a lot of audits. Just yesterday and today in our firm only, I think we have been contacted by more than 6 businesses that have been given appointments for next week. They'll just send you an email to say, we are coming on Monday, we are coming on Thursday, and we want you to see this and this. And so I'm encouraging you that just make sure that everything is in order. If not, we can assist with doing mock audits. If you want to have a mock audits, we do work with Blue Hector as well as our financial advisors on the side when we do audits and so forth. So you've got the best of both worlds from lawyers and accountants who are well
Yeah.
versed with the home office
Sorry,
regime.
and we've got another poll as well, which I'm just launching now, just to check if there are people that have had home office audit. So please just respond to that poll. If you can respond, that would be great. And Andrew, I'll let you continue whilst people are responding, and then we can discuss the results in a minute.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Right. So the next point is that sponsors are not updating their details with the home office. Things like if you've got a new branch and you've changed your key staff, you go on the SMS, you will see that there is Susan, still level 1, but Susan left 3 months ago, and she still has a log on details. They've not been removed, and sharing of confidential information. The level 1 user, the authorizing officer in confidential login details have been shared with the manager and another person and so forth, or they are saved on a computer that is used by several people. That is bad practice, and the home office can revoke your license on those for those reasons as well. So you need to update your information. The home office has got a habit of scrolling on the internet. They will check for you on Google, Edge, Facebook, X, LinkedIn, and if they find anything that they think that is incorrect, your order address still there on CQC or wherever it is, they can take that as a reason to suspend you or to revoke your license. So make sure that if you've got information that is even on social media, that information is up to date, or rather just remove it if it's not there, if you've got not capacity to update it. We have also witnessed, because of issues like hours and availability or non-availability of work and personal reasons and so forth, financial reasons, a wave of mergers, acquisitions, and restructures that are taking place. So people are joining their businesses, some are selling their businesses, some are going into liquidation. As I've said, some businesses are closing because Samuel alluded to this. The HMRC has intervened into the business. They've been hit with a big bill to pay the tax and so forth. So it's either you sell the business or you are forced to go into liquidation and so forth. But and the point that I want to raise is these things, if you go into a merger, if you go into an acquisition or a restructure, this is going to affect or impact on your sponsor license. If you change the ownership of the business or change certain aspects of the business. So you have to make sure you will be required by the Home Office to apply for a new sponsor license, because that will invalidate the current sponsor license if you change the ownership, change acquisitions, and so forth. And by the way, we've also noticed that it's not only the Home Office that is doing inspections now. Even the pensions regulator now is doing. We've noticed that the pensions regulator is now getting into the healthcare businesses, asking you why you are not paying the pension. And Kudzi or Samuel, I think I will ask you to explain the proper way of um, people opting in and opting out for pension in the Q&E as well. So the pensions regulator is also now doing their own inspections. The HMRC are doing their own inspections and so forth. So there's a lot of things that is happening that can lead to the Home Office sponsor license being revoked. Then promoting staff without following procedures. You identify that A is a good employee, is good at figures, is an accountant, is good with HR, is a web designer or things like that, and then you promote them without following the proper procedures. They were on a carer visa 6135. You are now using them as a manager. If you want to use them, you've identified them as good talent, then give them the proper SOC code, which they have to work under, and give them the salary that is pertaining to that job. Most of these jobs now, the minimum salary is 39,000. If we accept the health and social care visas, which are still enjoying the reduced salary of 25,000 at the moment. And you have to follow your proper processes and procedures in terms of recruitment, so that when the Home Office comes to inspect you, you will see that you've advertised the job, you have shortlisted candidates, and then that person was the deserving person to get the job. You have not done any shortcuts in just recruiting someone, because at the end of the day, skilled workers from abroad are not the default position to solve your employment problems according to the government and the Home Office. You have to give the jobs to British people. So if there is a management or a top level job, then it has to be offered first to a British person rather than a person on a COS. So you have to show that you tried and you failed. That's why you gave it to someone who's already on a COS. Then lastly, because of our time, I'm rushing through. Keep in mind the rate that will come in April 2026 for the new COS salary. So if someone is going to get a new COS from April 2026, they by default will have to get the new salary. Those ones who got their COS prior to April, they can go on the minimum wage if their salary is going to be below the minimum wage. But it's always difficult to have a 2-tier, 3-tier, 10-tier pay system in an organization. So you might have to end up with one tier of the Home Office rate and so forth. That's a policy for you, and that's something that you can discuss with the Blue Hector, because that's what they do, tell you the advantages and disadvantages of that. So in 20 minutes, having run over by 4 minutes, that's what I can say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andrew. I think that's pegged full of wonderful advice and very, very insightful information, I think, that you have said. So thank you so much. What I will do now is I'll go straight to our Q&A. So we've got a number of questions that have already been popped in the questions. So apologies, I know we're supposed to finish past. So if you can just allow us just to maybe finish all the questions. We'll stay here as much as possible so that at least we can just finish all the questions. And if you've got more questions, again, please feel free to put them in our question in our Q&A section. You should also be able, I think, now be able to unmute if you want to ask some questions. But I'll start with the ones that are in the chat. Sam, do you want to start? I think there was one on RTI which has been responded to. So that one is fine. Sam, I think there was a question from Louisa. She's saying, if we do not have enough hours for 1 month, then variable in the next month, is it okay to pay them what they've worked in that month, then compensate the following month by doing more hours?
Thanks, Kuzi. I thought you were going to take this one. Louisa, good question. The short and simple answer to that is no. So the question is, if you don't have enough hours and staff have worked less in 1 month, and can they compensate by overworking in the next month, so that when you look at the 2 months on average, they have done what they should do? The answer is no. They can't do that, and you can't. So again, similar with even staff on 20 hours, they can't do 10 hours this week, the next week they do 30. It needs to be 20 hours per week. So hopefully that answers your question. Andrew, please feel free.
Can I also add something on that?
Please.
Yeah, you have to bear in mind as well the employment regulations, the 48-hour regulation and so forth, because you cannot say that they've worked 20 hours this month and then you're going to make them work 90 hours, 100 hours next month. It's the resting regulations as well. Those are some of the things that the Home Office always look into. And it might be for your benefit to look at the 17-week rule as well. But in terms of the salary, Samuel has said it correctly. You can't play around with the figures.
Okay. No, thank you so much. I think there was another question. I think, Andrew, this one for you. It was posted in the chat and then we copied in the Q&A section. It says, I have a COS expiring in July. Did you say we can request now?
Because of the time that the Home Office is taking to make decisions and the difficulty that is there in terms of getting priority, I would say you can make the applications now, because most likely it will take nearly 18 weeks if their practice doesn't change. And the good thing, or at least something that the Home Office is now requiring, is that when you're making an application for a COS, you have to put all the information into the COS application. Gonna then are the days when you just say, I need 20 COS, and then you just get them without putting full information. Why do you need them? I need them because Andrew's COS is expiring in June, and his name is Andrew Nyamayaro, and this is his him for another 3 years or 5 years or whatever. So it has to go with all the information. So when it comes out, we already know that the 10 COS that are coming in this period are for Andrew, Kudzi, Sam, and so forth.
Okay. Thank you so much. I see some hands up. We'll try to balance questions on the chat and some hands that are up. I think Caroline was first. I don't know if you can unmute and ask your question.
Thank you. I just wanted to add and just to ask really like the question that's been asked already, because if somebody is doing the correct number of hours monthly, but they haven't worked the correct number of hours, like 37.5 hours maybe in the first week, but they managed to do a bit of overtime over the next few weeks. So monthly they have come up to the full amount of hours. Is that allowed or it's not allowed?
Okay, so the 17-week pay reference that I've alluded to, if you look into that one, it will guide you. What is not allowed or by the Home Office as a minimum, and of course in terms of employment law, is that you are ending up paying them less than their contracted hours. So every month they should be paid their salary according to the contract. If there is additional that you need to pay them, then they can deal with it in terms of employment contract. But in terms of the Home Office, even if they work 1 hour this month or no hour at all, you need to pay them the 37.5 equivalent per month, despite the circumstances, even when they're going to work 60 hours next week and so forth. As long as they are meeting their salary and they're not being overwhelmed and they're getting their resting in terms of the resting hours regulations, then that should be fine.
So it can be variable weekly, but monthly, like then it has to be the full amount, yeah?
Yeah, it can be variable. You
Okay.
can make them 10 hours now, 20
Yeah.
hours next week, 40 hours next week. That doesn't necessarily mean in terms of the hours, or never work at all. As long as you are paying them the contracted salary, that's what the Home Office wants.
Thank you for the clarity.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Caroline. Barbara, I think Barbara is next, and then we've got Lynette after that. Barbara, if you can unmute.
Hi. Yeah, I can. Sorry about that. I've got a couple of questions. The first one, could you explain to us, because we've got a few clients that are local authority, could you explain the leave-in, the calculation of the leave-in rates? Because we're a little bit concerned about taking on the package because of the amount of money that the local authority is prepared to pay. Secondly, with somebody who's we've got students that have been working with us doing 20 hours. Now they've applied for full-time role requesting a COS. How long is that? Is it the same process that the Home Office taking longer to allocate the COS, or is there a difference? That's all.
Okay, Andrew, I'll take the first one and then you take the second one. The first one is pretty straightforward. Barbara, let's discuss outside the core what the rates the local authority is offering, and then we can see if it's profitable or not. I think that one is pretty straightforward.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
On the second one, if they are students, then the COS, so a student is working for you and you want to give them a COS, they have to work for you for a minimum of 3 months before you can give them a COS, especially if they didn't come from they were not on a 6135 or a 6136 or in the health and social care before. They have to work on 3 months. And I need to just also explain to people that someone who is already in the care sector 6135, 6136, if you are recruiting them, they don't need to do the 3 months. I've heard some providers saying that you are coming from another company, you need to work for me 3 months before I give you a COS. You can give them straight away because they're already in the care sector. 6135, 6136, unless if they are always on another SOC code, that's when they might need to do the 3 months. But again, with students, you have to be very careful on 2 reasons. Reason number 1, they need to complete their studies. They need to give you their graduation certificate or at least completion of their studies. You can't give a student a COS. That will be in breach. Number 2, if you are giving a student a COS, you have to check the university that they are coming from since I think November 2025. If they are not coming from a reputable university, which is has got a good compliance rate, an A rate with the home office, then that is likely to put you in breach, and that is likely to trigger an audit on you. So really, that there's an additional layer that is there for students that you have to check whichever university. Our university in Coventry, we've got Warwick and Coventry as an example. In this, you have to check with the Home Office if they've got a good rating, because some universities, you've got a high rate of people that are abscond, and the Home Office would want you to recruit from them.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
no, thank you. They've been working with us for a year since they came, so that bit is fine. We'll have to check that.
Yeah, so now you need them to give you their qualification.
Okay, thank you.
But again, with students, they cannot start with you until they've actually finished, but you can allocate them the COS 3 months before. Remember, COS has got a lifespan of 3 months before. So they can get the COS start all the processes, but they cannot start working for you until they've qualified.
Thank you.
That's great. Yeah. So thanks, Andrew, for that. I think maybe the first question that we skipped, I saw there was another question saying, well, I'll be interested to know about the rates. Unfortunately, about the rates, we can't answer them in a blanket fashion like some of the questions that we have. This is dependent on a business by business cases, because we need to understand what your overheads look like, because a same rate can be profitable to one business, but also can in another business they might not be able to pick up that rate. So that's why we can't answer that question now. The next question that we have is from Lynette. I can see you've got your hand up. If you're talking, please just unmute before you speak.
Hello. Okay, yes, I was on mute. So I wanted to just clarify, the hours, well, in line with kind of how I'm doing things. So because I also do like PA care provider support with a few other trusted care providers, and I just learned that as long as I'm paying my staff a total of 162.5 hours a month as a minimum, then I'm fine. So it's like I always make sure that everyone has at least 162.5. I mean, there are times where, people do more hours, but I wouldn't pay anyone anything less than 162.5. So I just wanted to confirm that is that what everyone else is doing, because that's kind of how I've been told if I'm going to like be compliant with the home office and sponsorship license, I need to at least ensure that number of hours.
What does your contract
Okay.
say?
Okay, I can put my bid and then the accountants can put their bid. In terms of your hours, your starting point is the COS. Put in simple terms, your contract with the home office for the skilled workers is your COS. Your contract
Okay.
with the skilled workers under employment law is the contract of employment. So you've got
Absolutely.
kind of two contracts that are gelling there. So the home office contract, the hours that you've put on the COS is your minimum that you put there. People you've put different hours, some have put 37.5. So the 162.5 that you're talking about is based on 37.5 hours,
Yes,
I
yes.
think.
I've
But
given a
some
contract of
people,
37.5.
oh, okay. So for you, then it will be okay. But for others that have got, say, 40 hours or 39 hours or whatever hours, you have to calculate it. I think
Based on
Simon
that,
put,
right?
yes, based on that. One of the questions that Simon put us on the poll, I think, was about the hours where people come to, was it 150 hours per
Yeah.
per year? It's because people
Yes.
are saying 37.5 times 4. People
Mhm.
believe that there's always 4 months in a year. I don't know if my
4 weeks,
message is
4
correct
yes.
there.
weeks. Yeah,
That's
Yeah,
47
why
four
I
weeks.
weeks. Yeah,
always
yeah.
put 162.5 because of the additional. If it's a month, apparently there's always that additional 12.5 hours that you kind of have to account for the addition, because the year has 12 months.
Mhm.
And if you do it as
52 weeks.
4 weekly, then it's like 13 pay slips.
No, it's actually a simple calculation. I think Sam alluded to that. Basically, whatever is your weekly pay, you multiply it by 52 weeks in a year and then divide it by 12. That's how you get that magic number. So it's 52 weeks in a year divided by 12 months. So if you've got 40, like what Sam said, 40 multiplied by 52, and then you divide that by 12. That's what you give you what your monthly hours that you're supposed to put on the contract.
Yeah. And then the
Okay.
other thing that I wanted to just share based on, kind of my own challenges. And I think you've already touched on it. So I think some people are already struggling with similar issues, like, the delays with the home office when we submit for COSs and all that and all that. But I think now it's getting to a stage where just speaking to other people who are knowledgeable around the law and stuff, that I think as small companies, we are like, I don't know whether to say we are being unfairly targeted or it's just their procedural. For me, I feel like there's some procedural failures that now need challenging. And I know there's power in numbers. So I just wanted to see if there's any care providers out there that are daring, like myself, willing to spend as much money and challenge the home office so we can maybe hopefully put them to task, and even if it means, whatever we do becomes case law, and they can, because we will be inadvertently, speaking out for others. But again, sometimes they only respond if they see so many pre-action letters coming through from so many small home care providers. So that's kind of what I'm trying to encourage, because I'm going for that. I've just made up I actually emailed the solicitor today, because it's now, I think I'm at that point where I'm exhausted and I'm just thinking, you know what, in Shona, we say, "Kusiri kufande kupi," because if they are now sabotaging my business, I issued a COS on someone in July. Their start date was supposed to be September. They've literally forgotten them in the system. There's another one who is already an illegal immigrant. We had to stop her from working because they didn't issue the COSs on time. And then the other ones, I'm having to put SMS notifications to say we continue to sponsor, although they are anxious, they are stressed, they are working knowing they're only left with a couple of days. it's like it's inhumane treatment now, the way things are going. And we submitted 2 priority in a space of 3 weeks. One was just before Christmas. Then they declined. And the reason, so I contacted these immigration specialist solicitors. They're very good. They said, oh, let's just resubmit and address the concerns. There were no, proper concerns that I can even put my finger on. But they just said, we are better off doing it that way. Now, she was the one who actually wrote this powerful letter and stuff, because what they were questioning was, because one of my contracts is a spot purchase, the other one I'm on a framework. They were saying because it doesn't specify the number of hours. But no, that's not how these contracts work, because we get work coming through each morning and we have to choose whether we can take it, whether we've got capacity based on so many things. So, and people die as well. And, so she challenged on all that. Now, they've noticed that they couldn't, on this particular one that they declined this morning, they didn't touch on any of the things that they touched on the last time. They then just went on to say, it was so vague, I'll be honest. I couldn't even understand the reason, because for me, my understanding was that I thought the solicitor had made a mistake and submitted for undefined instead of defined, because that's all they kept referring to. There was nothing to do with like our compliance, nothing whatsoever. Everything is working perfect. We've been inspected again last July. They found us you blameless. So, but it's almost like it's targeted or whatever. And I don't think it's personal, but I think it's more a sabotage on small businesses for whatever reason. So now I've just emailed her just before this meeting. In as much as she said she's going to work as late as possible to submit the other, because I've said to her, you know what, you just have to submit it tonight, because I need to do the priority service tomorrow because I'm so stressed. But then I've emailed her to say, look, let's just take them to judicial review. I'm just so angry. I just want, even if it means spending, I don't know how many thousands, I don't care. But I need more people to feel that anger.
Okay. Thanks, Lynn. I think you probably highlight maybe some concerns that a lot of providers are going through at the moment. And obviously, I know that you've got your another solicitor that is helping you. And I think from us as well, I think just try to support you even with some of the applications and some of the things that you're doing. Obviously, we've got Tando here in this way that'll be able to do that. So maybe for the interest of time, we're going to skip that because there wasn't a question per se, but I think Lynn was just explaining and sharing some of the struggles that our providers are going. I'll go straight to the Q&A because I think there were a few questions on maternity, so that at least we can try to cover that because I know we are way over our time. But I would like to thank everyone for their patience because no one has even dropped in the call. So I think the discussions are fruitful. Again, if you've got any questions, please keep them coming so that we can try to cover them in the next few minutes before we finish. The question that we got here is how do I deal with a COS employee who has pregnancy-related health problems when they can complete I think maybe they wanted to say when they can't complete 40 hours a week. I'm assuming that they've got 40 hours in their contract. They can't complete those 40 hours because they've got pregnancy-related, I think, problems. I'll pick your brains, Andrew, here on this one.
Okay, so maternity is always a complicated topic, and to talk on it in general terms might be difficult. We need to get the exact circumstances in detail, but we have got qualifying periods and qualifying salaries and so forth that are there, the 26 weeks and the gestation periods and so forth. So I think the person now needs to give us more information and then we can deal with it on a one-to-one.
Okay, thank you. Just trying to feel, I think there was another one as well on maternity. It says, how do you deal with a COS employee who take 52 weeks maternity leave? Maternity leave pay is paid until 39 weeks. How do you deal with this in terms of compliance with Home Office? That one was from Locadia.
After the mandatory period, and if someone is still on maternity after the mandatory period, it can be unpaid maternity. You can still just report it on the SMS as unpaid, and that should be legal. That will cover
should
you.
Be enough. Yes, yes. I think that's correct there, because once you've gone, you're not obliged to keep on paying maternity. Besides the statutory period that someone should be on maternity leave. Yeah, I think that will answer that. I don't know, Sam, are there other questions in the chat? I think that's.
If you answer the question on enrolling out and outrolling of pension.
Pension. Okay, yeah. So there was one. So for pension, Sam, do you want to take it? I'll let us answer that from you.
I feel like you're not speaking enough, because pension is your good.
Yes. Do you want me to answer?
Yeah, please feel free.
Yeah, okay. So for pension, the way pension works is that an employee can't just come to you and say, "Hey, I don't want to I don't want to contribute into a pension scheme." The way it's supposed to happen is through your payroll system or through your accountant. If you're outsourcing your payroll, is that they have to be auto-enrolled. That's why it's called auto-enrollment. As soon as someone works, within the first 3 months of them starting to work, they have to be auto-enrolled into a pension scheme. So every employer, you're supposed to be subscribing to a pension scheme. The most popular one is Nest. So most people assume that Nest is the only pension provider out there, but there's lots. There's Aviva, there's all sorts of pension schemes out there. When an employee has been auto-enrolled into a pension, the pension scheme provider or the pension provider will write to the employee to say, "Oh, hey, if it's Kudzi, you've been enrolled into a pension, you are now given, I think, 30 days for you to opt out before any deductions have been done. And if there are any deductions that are taken within that what we call opt-out period, you can effectively get refunded that money that would have been deducted. If it happens that, you know what, I now the opt-out period has elapsed and the employees still have not opted out, but they decide to opt out next month, unfortunately, they're not going to get that refund. That money now stays in their pension pot and they'll get it when they retire. So, in terms of making sure that you've got the full cycle, once the employee has opted out, the pension scheme or the pension provider will inform you as the employer that Kudzi has decided that they don't want to contribute, and then you stop those deductions on a monthly basis. So it's very, very important. Just an email from an employee saying, "I don't want to contribute" or "I want to opt out" is not enough. There has to be a pension provider involved in that decision to opt out. And I also encourage you as employers, please don't coerce your employees to opt out of pension, because that's very illegal. Otherwise, you get into trouble for doing that. So don't coerce your employees. It has to be a decision they make themselves. Tell them that these are the options they have, but let it be a decision which they make for themselves. I think that will answer that question.
I would just add, Kudzi, on that as well. I think maybe taking a step further, where you are deducting pension for an employee, but you're not submitting to the pension provider, nor are you making payments on their behalf. That is a very, very dangerous area to be in. So you're deducting pension from an employee on their payslip, but you're not paying the pension provider. That is a very, very dangerous red flag, one to watch out for.
No, thank you so much.